friends. Hope all is well and your December is fantastic. We have been talking about people, process, and systems. And today we are going to talk about systems. Process is a recipe which basically anybody can follow, but the process is as good as the people that follow them. So if you have three different chefs and they come in three different shifts, and even though they follow the same recipe, but each chef will have a different taste. You know, this reminds me of Mr. Checklist, who had a real good, checklist every day, every morning when he wakes up. He basically check that okay, I have to brush, I have to take shower, I have to, feed the animals. Then I have to, make sure that no dragon or no thief is coming in at any trying to get into the house, or and what have you, the whole list. And one day that air blew, and the checklist was gone. And then of course that before Mr. Checklist could make the decision to do what, the whole house got burned down. So people who really have dependency on checklist, that cannot really you know produce a very consistent results. You can only produce consistent results if you automate that process, so you don't rely on human factor, or if you have really trained yourself so well that it becomes your sixth sense. It's just like nowadays we all follow GPS, and when we are following the GPS, you know, a lot of time we don't even know that, what way really we went, because we are so dependent on the GPS. So, if, for example, we have a system and a robust system, that system would really produce the product so well that we really don't have to worry about variability, because we can control the upper limit and the lower limit. And we can have repeatable results. And that you know system doesn't really work on production. It could work on, from the beginning to the end. And that's the reason, honestly, the system I developed is I call total value system, because there are many many systems out there. And there are many ERP system, MRP systems. People like Oracle and SAP, they develop many system and they offer systems. But that again, the system again is as good as you define and design it. So that's the reason before people implement any system, they actually go through their entire process. They interview many people, they create a playbook, and then they make sure that the system process is optimized before they actually turn into an automated system. I don't know if you guys had an opportunity to implement any ERP system. Before implementing any system, you would really have to make sure that your process is fully, optimized, and it has all the boundaries and definitions. And that's the reason you actually end up interviewing many many people, because you want to see what are the different variabilities based on different people defining the same recipe differently. So system is nothing but automation of the process you have developed and you have been working on. But you know those systems which have better definitions, and they actually takes all the variability into account, and they have agility and robustness built into it. Then they can handle, you know even the slight variability in the material, and they can still produce great product. Or they would actually at least make sure they send you the right signals to control your, wherever your variability is coming from. So that's the reason when I was developing a system, I basically realized that there are few gaps. And if those gaps are not really defined properly when we are automating the system, then unfortunately, we will not be able to have a consistent product or consistent profitability or great customer service. So the very first thing in the system automation, I have these 10 process checklist, process checkpoints. I'm sure you have your own checkpoints, and hopefully you will share your checkpoints with everybody. So the very first checkpoint I have is that the system is handling the front to back communication properly. What do I mean by that? So, first of all, I define the sales end of the company as a front end, and I defined the purchasing end of the company or the logistic end of the supply chain end as the back end. So, not only manually there, people should be talking from front to back that the sales team, whatever promises they make, they communicate to the all the way to the purchasing team. But usually in mid to big, large size companies, people have systems. So if you do not properly put all those definitions, all those promises into the system, then unfortunately you cannot communicate well to the team. So a lot of time sales forecasts and sales promises and customer commitments are taken into different type of softwares, and sometimes they are actually not even in the software. In many companies they are sitting in sales team's desk, and then they communicate the order. Okay, you have to ship 20 widget of a kind to C customer on such and such date. That's all you put in. But you did not put all the detailed specs. You did not put, what were the payment terms. And then, let's say if your sales team have promised 90 days payment terms and they did not put in the system, and your purchasing team is negotiating based on 30 days, and you have another 30 days of procurement and production time, delivery time. So now you have 90 days gap in your cash flow because you had 30 days promised to your supplier, you have 90 days payment terms with your customers, and you have 30 days to produce. Now even though you're gaining 30 days from your supplier, but you're having a negative cash flow of 90 days. So that's important that you actually put all those commitment from the customer to the supplier into the system. And that's what I call front to back communication. So you need to communicate properly, and then when you put in your system properly your front end commitment and back end commitment. And that's the reason I call front to back communication. So in your system, you have front to back communication properly articulated in the system. Then the next step really in the total value system is that you have profit centers instead of cost centers. Now, if you have, let's say, the front to back communication, what does it mean? What it means is that whatever sales has committed, now those automated messages comes in to different teams from the input of the Salesforce. If the Salesforce is putting the right commitments into the system, then the messages are going to all the way to the back end through the system, both via emails and via system. So it's very important that you have those entries into the system. And a total value system, a system designed for all commitments from front all the way to the back, would really be called a total value system. The system which is taking into account all the commitments and specs from front all the way to the back. And then so basically you are the other thing which you have to make sure is that you are not only building cost center, but you are building profit centers. You're setting up your purchasing department, your logistic department, your internal services department as a profit center instead of being a cost center. So what do I mean by cost and profit center is that you are getting a sale of $1 million, but your cost is cost of raw material, cost of production, cost of delivery, all everything total is 80 cents. So you have $1 revenue and you have 80 cents total production, processing, purchasing, delivery, total is 80 cents. Now you have 20 cents to play, and you have, but instead of making those cost centers where you are doing the purchase order, if they could be turned into profit centers, then you are basically, not dealing with all those, all those money and cash tied up into your cost. But if you actually build profit centers, you have incentivized the people in such a way that whatever salaries they are making, they are producing results, measurable results better than that. Then basically you are actually taking care of their expense at their center, and instead of having a cost center, you have a profit center. That's another discussion for another time in detail, but the reality is that you are keeping in mind that how you are spending and how you are opening a shop order, that and how people are incentivized. And then the next step really is developing the benchmark. So your system should be capable of developing internal benchmark. When they are building a shop order or when they are building a product, that if your system can develop an internal benchmark, that how much would it cost if we produce internally versus if we buy from a third party. So that really will give you an internal benchmark. In this way, when you are, you know, buy versus when you're making buy versus make decisions, then you can make, right decisions based on real information that you are, whether you are doing the right thing by making it yourself or whether you're better off buying it from outside. So your system is capable of developing an internal benchmark, that what is the true cost if you produce it yourself. And so basically you develop those, you develop the capability in the system for the benchmark. Then the next step really is that you build smart request for price. Now, when you are making request for price, you are making smart RFPs. Those RFPs already have clear definition of, and it has like even the cells for adding the quotation value, that when you are getting a quote, it's not just two-page document where price is hidden somewhere. It actually has each cell for, you know either specs or price, or what are your definitions, and what will be the price based on the quantity. And there is like a breakdown for material, for labor, for hourly rate. So in this way you should be able to compare A, B, C, D, E from code A to code B. So you are actually not asking somebody to give you the price, but you're asking somebody to give you a very detailed code in like a spreadsheet type environment, and they are entering the making the entries into the system, and that is visible to you in real time. So that's how you're getting the RFP. So you design the RFP in your system, and when your suppliers see it, they see it exactly what you're looking for, and then they are actually replying into your system, and you are seeing the breakdown of the cost, And now when you have multiple supplier, then you have, very easy sheet of comparing, and then you have a report where you have a comparison and you can make easy decisions. Then the next thing your system should be able to do is your system should be able to do, you know, measure your supplier performance and issue a scorecard. If you are measuring your supplier's performance and issuing a scorecard, then basically you can keep that record, and you can, make that improvement in your supplier, so you can control the quality of your supplier, and you can also control the you control the performance of your supplier. So your performance and quality is controlled based on your supplier scorecarding system, and that is part of your total value system. Then you have the supplier quality assurance and buyer's quality control. Now, it's not just, your supplier quality assurance on your point of view, but also whatever buyer is looking for, the key matrix buyer is looking for, buyer is also getting that visibility, and getting that, control as well. And then the next thing would really be the whatever the project quantifiable measures. So you're not really keeping control of your process, uh, but also the project and the product, that you are getting the measures on your project and product, and you see that how your project and product is moving along. And then, of course, you also build employee goals and measures in the system as well. So it's very easy for, to measure the employee goals and give them the performance matrix and performance review. So that's all being done automatic from the system, instead of, you know you are a manager spending hours and hours and hours. So you are putting all those measures in the system, in the same system, and then the system is giving you performance review automatically. And then last but not least, process, product, and team continuous improvement. So now, because your system is robust, is dealing with the process, is dealing with the product, is dealing with people. So now you are able to, you know not only measure but also set the improvement goals for the future. So you are actually getting your process and system optimized all the time, and your team are even reviewed and optimized as well. So your system is robust enough to deal with process improvement, product improvement, and overall team improvement. And lastly, you are now have profitability measures and customer feedback. Now, not only you are measuring your process, your product, your team, but you are also measuring your profitability. And it's not about revenue, it's about net profit. Because at the end of the day, we're talking about, profitable companies. And we have to make sure that we have, all this performance measure, but what is really the profitability measure, and how do we really loop in the customer feedback. So, that's really what I call total value system. Now, this system is not just automating your production process, but it's also, optimizing your production process, your employee process, and your project management process. So you are now automating and optimizing your process, product, and team. And that will also give you continuous improvement and measuring your performance and your supplier's performance. You see, you from back end, you can measure your supplier performance all the way your customer feedback. So it's a closed loop system. When your customer is giving you score, and the ultimate score from the customer is really 10 out of 10, and the ultimate question, would you recommend us to, to another customer. If the answer is yes, then really you are making progress. But if the answer is not yes, then really it could be 1 to 10 answer too. It doesn't have to be yes or no. It could be how likely you are, how likely would you be, recommending us to another customer. And if they say 9, maybe it's acceptable to some people, but maybe it's not acceptable for other people. So a lot of people would like to have 10 out of 10. And for that, this closed loop system where you're getting, supplier performance all the way customer feedback, and you are keep doing process improvement, quality improvement, product improvement, team improvement, and it's a closed loop system that help you improve your entire, company from front to the back, and keep you always, to the right path, because that is the way you can not only, satisfy your customer, but you can also have great relationship and good network with your supply base as well, and have happy employees. I hope this helped you. This really helped me, doing my process improvement, product improvement, company improvement, and even, sustainable profitability. Again, we don't live an ideal life. We all make mistakes, but the idea is that we keep our ears and eyes open, and continuously looking at our people, processes, and system, and having a system that can handle not only the process, production process, but also people and product as well. With that, I hope I'll get some feedback and your perspective as well, that how do you really develop your systems when you have your optimized process. May God bless you, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.